You just said something about being the GOAT. There is someone who is arguably objectively defined as the GOAT of finance YouTube. And he made a decision the other day that
I know what you're gonna say.
That I have some thoughts on based upon new information that I found out about today. We're talking about Meet Kevin, who sold out his entire stock position, and we're going to talk about it because it's part of the finance community. We've got to talk about.
We both made a video about it. Actually, we both made a video about it. Yeah. So I watched yours.
It was good. I watched yours today as well. It was good as well. It was better than mine because you're good.
I don't think it was better. It was different.
It was different, yeah. Different. Yeah. I think we broke it down in different ways, but we ultimately kind of came to the same conclusion that I think both of us had. Like, yo, we don't care. It's his money. Let him do what he wants. But it's a risky strategy.
We both agree on it. It's no. I don't think there's a massive moral flow to this.
Yes. Now here's my question, because this is what happened this morning. I was watching the live stream. I hopped into the that he does every day for his stocks, and I'm going to make another video about this because I actually genuinely want to talk about this. He's watching the stocks go down, and he's like feeling sad that it's going down. He gets to a point where Robinhood's $12. He's like, oh my God, Vlad, how can Robinhood be $12? And in my head, I just can't help but think, wait a second. It's great that it's $12 for you.
You, yeah, because
for you, it's phenomenal that the stock market is dropping. So he's looking at all this red and he's showing all this emotion that's sad. And to me, and I want to get your take on this, it really felt like one of the most manipulative games that you could play with your audience, because you can't sell to your audience that you're sad about this when you're short the market, which means the live stream doesn't make that much sense, because the whole point of the live stream is to suffer together in some capacity, right? When you're live streaming what's going on in the market. Yeah. But you can't show your suffering because you should be happy as shit that the market is down and you pulled out at the right moment. So how do you feel about what's going on and what he did? And what he's continuing to do?
Yeah, it's a tough question, bro, to be honest, since I like Kevin.
Tom, real quick before you continue, he was part of the reason I started on YouTube. Like, I religiously consumed his content. I admire his work ethic a lot. So to see him play this emotional manipulative game today, which I think it's emotional manipulation, and I'm not even trying to throw shade at him. Like, it is. You can't act sad.
You're not a shade thrower, to be honest. That's not your style. Even when you made the videos about the idiot and his two boyfriends.
The three Scrooges.
Like the three morons.
It was the most respectful expose ever, because I was literally like, hey guys, I don't agree with them, but I think there's a hidden agenda for their content.
You never took shots at them, and that's a kind of
so that's who I am, and I follow Kevin. For him to do what he did this morning, and now on Twitter he's tweeting this FUD about a recession coming. I can show you some of the tweets that, like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's really shady.
So I'll tell you my opinion about what happened. So I like Kevin. And I've said this in my video. I don't see a moral fatality here for him to sell.
I agree.
It's his prerogative, his right. He doesn't owe anything to anybody. He can sell if he wants.
Agreed.
Where I think I didn't know about the stream. What you just told me is new information for me, so I just found out about that. What I will tell you is that I think where he will suffer from this decision, in my opinion, is he's within his right to do it, and it's 100% legit. And if he makes this bet, good for him. He will suffer, I think, because I think it will take away from the validity of the value proposition of his course. So he's selling a course about how to succeed in the stock market, and that's fine.
It's an expensive
good
course
for him.
Too. It's not a cheap course.
It's okay. If people are paying, then it's a fair price.
I agree.
And most people I talked to said it's a good course, actually. I don't think I've ever came across anybody who said it's a bad course, to be honest. So he's selling a course, and he goes last week and says, in the second half of the week, I believe, oh, I'm not effing living, I'm buying the dip. And then he goes on this whole rant. You can refinance your house, another 500K. And if you put in the stock market, long-term investing, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Fine. If that's your theory, fine. No problem. But then there's like 48 hours go by. And then he's like, yep, I sold everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So hold on a second. So your complete analysis, what is it worth if your analysis changes within 48 hours with nothing fundamentally changing? no piece of information has changed in those 48 hours. The Fed didn't come out with anything new. There's no circumstance that changed that mandated a complete overhaul of your strategy or evaluation. If you were like me, and I've been screaming since October or November that the tech sell-off is not going to end until the Fed is going to come out and admit. And I even made a video a week ago saying this is not the bottom. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
If you thought that from the beginning, that's fine. But he was kind of the opposite, saying buy the dip, buy the dip.
Right. That's a good point. That is a good point. You were saying to not buy the dip because it's not the bottom.
No, I was saying this is not the bottom. And you can pull up my videos and even the recent one that's called literally, this is not the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so he went from being kind of the contrarian view to that to, okay, I think this is not the bottom in a matter of 2 days with no change of circumstance. So what kind of an analysis skill set does he apply here other than, follow his gut feeling or whatever intuition he has? And if it's only about intuition and gut feeling, then there's questions about the value proposition of his course that I think will be raised by his viewers.
I want to show you this real quick. He tweeted this today. This is bad for the stock market. He's in some restaurant. He's saying this cafe is usually packed. Apparently it's dead. Recession coming, ? This started feeling like Bill Ackman stuff to me because I'm like,
and he actually criticized Bill Ackman for what he did.
And I'm like, what? So Tom, this is the weird part to me. It's like in the morning, you're sad. The stocks are down. You're showing your audience you're sad because obviously you should because your audience is sad, right? So that's the relationship you have to have, but you're actually profiting. And then on Twitter, you're tweeting essentially this FUD that a recession is coming because you're going to profit off of that because you're short. Now, his argument is like, well, I'm transparent about it. I'm like, sure, but you have 2 million people that were transparently following you in a 360-degree direction for the past 2 years.
I think long term he's going to suffer from this, even though obviously he has a very loyal fan base, which will stick with him thick and thin, and that they don't mind. I think as far as his brand, long term, this is going to be probably detrimental to the quality of his brand. But at the end of the day, his redemption can happen if indeed he goes back in at March or whenever, and the market skyrockets back up, and then he looks like a genius for doing that. It will wash away the sins of the father, so to speak.
You think you think people will respect him a lot for that?
Yeah, if he gets this call right, then it will outweigh the fact that his analysis methodology is useless.
Well, let me tell you,
because it's a question about like he just proved that his methodology is non-existent.
Right.
So what is he selling really? But if the call is correct, he can say, well, I'll teach you what I'm teaching is you my intuition, and I'll share with you my intuition and my I understand crowd psychology or whatever. I don't know. He can repackage the whole course if he gets it right.
Let me tell you what his call is, because he was doing this on a live stream yesterday because I wanted to understand what he's really doing. He is betting that in March, small caps, not mid caps, not large caps, small caps, Honest, Tattooed Chef, these types of companies, they're going to be so beaten down that they have a 3x, 4x return potential within the next year and a half, because all the shorts are going to have to cover once the fears of recession go away. So his strategy is to pick a basket of 10 small caps and put $2 million, 10 times 2 is 20 million, into each of those and make up. And even if a couple of those, go to the moon, he makes up for the ones that don't. Do you think that's a smart strategy in terms of betting on small caps when the recession is over?
I don't know. It's a risky strategy for sure, because there is a scenario where none of them goes to the moon, and then he'll be trapped in under the money.
But do you think the logic of that doesn't make sense? Because if they're so beaten down and they're good companies and they're getting short squeezed, they have to go up to some extent.
It will depend on which companies he chooses. The selection process will have to be really good for this to work.
Yeah.
Because if he chooses buffoons, bozos, etc., then it's not good. It's only a valid strategy if he can pick because not all of these small cap growth stocks will bounce back. Some of them will die. This would be a death sentence for them. Peloton was a prime example. A stock which, by the way, I got wrong.
Right.
I was bullish on Peloton, and I made a whole post basically saying, no, I let this be a forever evidence that I got Peloton wrong. But it will happen to more stocks. So his selection process will have to be impeccable for this to work. It can potentially work, but it will. He would really have to be excellent at choosing the right ones, because here's the problem. So this 20 million he has, it's a big profit built in because he rode Tesla and whatnot. Now, if he jumps back in, there's no cushion like he used to have. So this whatever happens now is basically eating away at his principal amount.
And he still has to pay taxes on 2021. He was talking about that as well. So
Yeah, that's okay. He pays long-term capital gains tax. It's all Tesla money from more than a year. It's
That's true.
20%. It's
That's true.
20% or something. It's not a big deal. I think it might work, but
if there
I
was
think
anyone
that-
I could bet on doing this, it would be Kevin, given how much
Yeah.
he knows about the market, right?
it might work. I just think it's a risky strategy. I'd rather invest in good businesses that I think will be dominant and disruptive over the course of the next 5 to 10 years instead of small cap stocks, which might get short squeezed. But
Well,
it's
one of the
different
things he
strategies.
said is that he's also bored. He said like it's going to be boring for the market for the next 5 years, and he wants to do a swing trade because he thinks it could be the greatest trade of his life. So I kind of get the human take a risk perspective at 30 years old. He's like, screw it,
Mm.
let's see what happens. Like, so
It's a rich man's problem, bro.
yes, yes,
Most people don't have that prerogative to say I'm bored because it's a lot of money.
yeah,
I think in general, treating it like a casino is not the right approach. I don't know if I would look at it like this, because when I look at it, I try to think of it. Well, this is money that I'm supposed to. I have fiduciary duty to my family to try and
Yeah.
keep and not go crazy with it.
yeah.
But hey, it's his money. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.